Hello and welcome to Fifth 15. If you don't know what that means, you're on the right track. It might be time for you to find your faith, face your fears, flip your fajita, or furnish your foyer. I really don't know. Listen and see what the good Lord speaks to you today. As for me, my name is Sasha and I'm a child of God who is daily in His Word seeking guidance on how it applies to modern life. If I can bless someone by sharing those insights, I'm happy to do so. Previously on Fifth 15, I aired some of my dirty laundry and discussed how faith has enabled me to respond to certain situations I've been confronted with over the years. After that episode was finished, there was just a moment where it occurred to me that faith is kind of similar to blindsight. And I have to explain what blindsight is for that to make any kind of sense, but as a psychology nerd, I found that really interesting and decided to make this episode about this rather than doing the episode I had originally planned. So blindsight is one of the more fascinating conditions I learned about as an upperclassman studying psychology. The idea is basically that one or more parts of the body responsible for vision doesn't work properly. And so what people report experiencing is that they're not able to see. As far as they're concerned, they're blind, and yet they're able to do things that require visual ability. They can reach for objects, they can navigate obstacle courses, and do all sorts of things that in theory, a person who can't see should not be able to do. It's a kind of functional blindness. And what occurred to me is that faith is not entirely dissimilar to that, if you think about it. People with blind sight are still able to do these tasks because parts of them needed for vision are still intact and enable them to. What faith says is that God is the part of us that's still intact and enabling us to see when we don't think that we can. We can still reach out and grab what He has in store for our lives. We can still navigate the obstacle courses, stumbling blocks, and difficulties that life sporadically throws at us when we think we can't. We can't predict the future, but God knows it well. And so we respect His ability to see perfectly when we don't think we can. My conclusion was that we as believers should embrace faith as a kind of functional blindness, because here's the fact of the matter. We do have blind spots. We are going to get blindsided. Life is going to have all kinds of unexpected trials, difficulties, pains, whatever. Jesus promises us as much. He says, in this world you will have tribulation. But He goes on to say, take heart because I have overcome the world. It's not our own ability that should comfort us, but we should be resting in the knowledge of His ability. Hear what God has to say about it in Isaiah chapter 46, verse 10. Declaring the end from the beginning, and from ancient times things which have not been done, saying, my plan will be established, and I will accomplish all my good pleasure. Ooh, come on, God. In other words, God made the game, God made the rules of the game, God made the players of the game, including you and I, and God already beat the game. So what are you worried about? This is why David says what he does in Psalm 23. Again, straight out of the Christian Starter Pack. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. I mean, it's in a Tupac song, for crying out. Like, who doesn't know this? And yet, we choose fear. And I don't get that. And I feel for the people who do, especially children of God. We should know better. David goes on to say, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. If you want to get KJV with it, your rod and your staff, they comfort me. Knowing God's in control, that He has perfect vision, He doesn't have blind spots, He doesn't get blindsided. That comforts me greatly, and I hope it's encouraging to someone today. As we know, 2020 was officially certified as the McDumpster-fieriest year of the new millennium by the National Association of Year Raters. Congratulations are in order for 2020. I just made that up. It doesn't matter. But the point is, 2020 might not be what we think it is. People commonly accept 2020 vision as being perfect vision. You'll see them on social media. Hashtag perfect eyeballs. Hashtag can see the moon from here. Hashtag 2020 vision, y'all. Hashtag blessed. And yet what I learned is that 2020 vision just means that you're able to see what you're supposed to be able to see from a distance of 20 feet. Could it be that we're also misinterpreting 2020 the year? I see so much defeatist rhetoric about how 2020 was the end of everything. We're never going to recover. Oh my gosh, this pandemic will go on into eternity and there's no hope for humanity, the end. And I'm just like, wait a minute. My life's been sucking for a long time. You only just made it here to Bikini Rock Bottom? Wow. Like, welcome. So nice you could join me. No, I don't want to minimize anything that people went through last year. I know it was a very difficult and painful year. There was a lot of loss and suffering. And my heart does go out to people who have experienced tragedy in 2020. But the point I want to make is that no matter how many twists or turns there appear to be in the maze called life, God made the maze. And He has a perfect aerial view of the entire thing. Our God is no blind guide, and we should be grateful, confident, and in a continued state of expectation for what He has in store for our lives. One of my favorite verses is another classic, Jeremiah chapter 29, verse 11. For I know the plans that I have for you, declares the Lord, plans for prosperity and not for disaster, to give you a future and a hope. It might be wise for us to accept that our vision for our lives is possibly just average as well when we think it's perfect. But God's divine vision for our lives is actually perfect. I got a cute little reminder of this about a week ago, but God is really sweet, and even in the little insignificant details of our lives, this truth can be seen. Long story short, I live where I work, and I was downstairs hanging out with my bosses after the end of a long work day, just chilling, hanging out, working on some stuff on my laptop. I had my earbuds and I lost one of them, of course. My bosses were very kind about it. They decided to spend some of their quiet, relaxing evening time to help me look high and low for this errant earbud. Nobody could find it. And so what kept coming to me was this message of, it's okay, you're gonna find it. Go take a shower, get ready for bed, because it was getting late. I like to try to get to bed early, get up early. I'm one of those people. And I just couldn't accept it. My vision for my life was grander. I was going to find the earbud and hold it in the air and declare to the masses that the earbud had been recovered successfully. There was like an element of pride about it. I mean, it was just really dumb. Like, I should have just listened to that still small voice and took my crusty butt for a shower and some sleep. But I couldn't. And so I started to get my human wisdom and logic going. I used my deductive reasoning. I was like, well, it's a dark earbud and the floor is light. It should be highly visible, blah, blah, blah. It was absurd. Nothing was helping. The couch is one of those super comfy armchair, legs roll out kind of things. So I'm using my phone's flashlight, getting all up in the nooks and crannies. Man, my logic should have told me right then and there that the earbud was too big to have even fallen into the sides of the chair, the creases of the chair like that. But I couldn't accept that either. I kept looking. By the end of it all, I had an epiphany. And I reached down into my shirt and pulled out the earbud. Had I listened to the guidance that I was receiving and gone up and taken my shower, would the earbud not have just fallen out of my shirt? What an unfortunate waste to my evening. I mean, it turned out to be something we all looked back and laughed on, and maybe this will encourage someone to keep extra special track of your earbuds, or at least to look down your shirt if you're female and you lost one. But man, God had my back, and I just could not accept that for my life. So it was a colossal waste of time. He invites us not to waste that type of time for any reason. Jesus said, "Do not worry about your life, what you will eat or what you will wear. Is not life more than food and the body more than clothing?" Perhaps we can benefit from accepting that there's someone in our lives who sees us perfectly because he created us. And so he anticipates our needs better than we do, better than we think anyone capable of doing too. So that's that. I'm not saying I never have moments of stubbornness, confusion, frustration, or even fear. But as my faith grows, those things become smaller, and my vision of what God is capable of keeps expanding. I put 2 Corinthians chapter 5 verse 7 all over my life like ketchup. For we walk by faith, not by sight. Go with God and you can't go wrong. I mean, it's kind of tough to beat perfection. May all three people who hear this someday accept that and receive it in the name of Jesus. Family, I hope that this has blessed you, but just in case I missed you this week, I speak 2 Thessalonians chapter 3 verse 16 over you. Now may the Lord of peace himself continually grant you peace in every circumstance. The Lord be with you all. Until the next time, it's 5:15.